So first of all, I do want to congratulate Lamine Yamal and Cubarsí for really making an impact for Barcelona this season. Xavi was able to promote these two youngsters into the first team and actually bet on them. Like, they did not just come into the first team just to sit on the bench. Xavi Hernandez literally has been using these two players to his advantage. And one of the reasons on why these two players have been seeing a lot of minutes is because Barcelona have been lacking a lot of players, mainly because we have not been able to do the transfers that we have been wanting to do, and also there has been so many injuries. So for example, Rafinha got injured. Lamine Yamal had to take over and play a lot of games. When Koundé or Araujo got injured, Cubarsí came into the picture and took one of those spots. Even Inigo Martinez, who was also out for a good minute, Cubarsí also had to take his spot. Fast forward up until today, we have two players where we can safely say these two players have the ability to start in any of these Barcelona matches at just 16 and 17 years old. It really is amazing. But here's the thing though, as you guys can see on the title of this video, I'm a little scared about Lamine Yamal because with Cubarsí, I think that with him playing a lot of minutes and a lot of matches, it's okay because as a defender and as a center back, you don't really run as much. But with someone like Lamine Yamal, where you're placed on the wings and you have to make all of these bursts runs and track back and make those runs into spaces, that does get me nervous because with Lamine Yamal playing that many games at just 16 years old, I don't want this to lead to a potential injury. We have gotten to a point where Lamine Yamal, again at just 16 years old, has more minutes than a 27-year-old Brazilian player who is Rafinha. If we look at the amount of minutes Lamine Yamal has, he has 1337. Rafinha has 794. So literally Lamine Yamal has double the minutes of Rafinha. Now what's crazy is that you can also see that Rafinha has more goals than Lamine Yamal, even though Rafinha has played way less than Yamal. It goes to show that when Rafinha is actually on the pitch, he can score and be very efficient. He even does have more assists than Lamine Yamal. So we'll talk about Rafinha in just a few minutes. But like, bro, I think that Rafinha, without an injury, he could have easily gotten 10 to 11 goals by now. But again, we'll talk about Rafinha in just a few minutes. Going back to Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal is a young player. And when you are a young player, you don't really know your body. You don't know what's your limit. You don't know what you need to listen to, like what muscle parts are achy, what hurts. Does that mean that it could lead to a potential injury in the future? Lamine Yamal does not know that yet because he's just too early in his career. When you are in your mid-20s though, like 25, 26, 27, 28 years old, you understand your limits. You play within the boundaries that you could reach. And it's crazy to like think like that because I remember like 5 to 7 years ago, I used to think that the older you do get, the more injuries you do occur. But that's not the case. And especially when you take care of yourself, you don't really go through a lot of injuries. Now you do see some players like in their mid-20s or early 30s encountering a lot of injuries, but we can name so many other players that are in their mid-20s to early 30s that barely get injured. Like for example, Lewandowski barely gets injured, Frankie de Jong barely gets injured, Messi, Ronaldo, they all barely get injured because they work within the boundaries that they're capable of and they never go outside of that. But when you're younger, you don't know your limits, you don't know your boundaries. And to see Lamine Yamal play 90-minute matches 2 times a week, I really don't want Lamine Yamal to encounter that one injury that puts down his career. Like, let's really think about this. And I want Barcelona to assess this. I want them to assess what happened in the past 3 to 4 years. For example, Ansu Fati. I remember seeing Ansu Fati in his prime at 16, 17, 18 years old. He was explosive. He took so many great shots with a lot of composure. He was fast. He was amazing. I was like, okay, this is a player where if he does not get injured and he takes care of himself, he can compete with someone like Kylian Mbappe. As crazy as that sounds, but that was the projection at that time when he was emerging into the first team. But now he encountered a serious injury, which was a ACL injury. And now we can say that, you know, before he even hit 20, 21 years old, the injuries that he was going through in the past 2 or 3 years has ruined his career because we don't see the same Ansu that we saw 2 years ago. We do see a Ansu Fati that is slow, a little sluggish, a little slow in his plays. And I don't know if that's going to be temporarily or forever. Moving on to Pedri. Remember when Pedri first came to Barcelona, he was being used in every match. He went to go play for the national team. He finished like 70 games within a span of like a year and 2 months. And that's a lot of matches. And that eventually led towards Pedri getting injured. Now he returned at a decent level. He did not come back with a huge downfall like Ansu Fati, but he does get re-injured a lot. Like we have already seen Pedri go through 2 different injuries this season. He had 3 injuries last season and another 2 injuries before that season. The injuries just don't stop for Pedri. And if we look at his form today, he does not run as much as he used to. He looks very slow, very unimpactful. There's not a lot of aggressiveness in his plays. He looks very scared to make any runs. He runs like if he's 34 years old. Like at this point, I know that he's great on the ball, but if you can't bring the intensity, just bring someone like Fermin Lopez. I would much rather have Fermin Lopez on the pitch than Pedri as of now. Pedri really has to fix something. And even when he tries to pass the ball, it gets misplaced because of how slow he does implement those passes, which is really sad to see, because I don't know if this has something to do with his injuries that he has accumulated in the past few years. Moving on towards Xavi. Xavi played a lot of matches last season and he gave it his all. You guys know this. You guys know that Xavi was like busting so much ass out there on the field. Then he went to that friendly to represent the Spanish national team, which, you know, it was a game that meant nothing, and he got an injury that led towards him getting like a knee injury or something like that, and now he's going to be out for the rest of this season. His body simply could not take it anymore because of how many minutes he was playing. And I don't know how Xavi is going to be returning. And that's what's kind of like scary about this whole thing, is that I don't know how Xavi is going to be playing once he does come back, because we have already seen Ansu Fati underperform after a long-term injury. Same thing with Pedri. With Xavi, I don't know. Hopefully he does end up being the same, because what carried him was not his talent. What carried him was his mentality, and that's something that you cannot destroy from Xavi. And so now let's move on towards Lamine Yamal. We look at these three players and what happened to them. I don't want Lamine Yamal to go through the exact same thing. And keep in mind, you better bet that the Spanish national team will call him to go play in the Euros this summer. Like, he's going to be playing all of these matches with Barcelona and then go into the national team and play even more minutes. Like, when do these players ever get like consistent rest? And like I've said, if you're someone like Frankie de Jong or Lewandowski or Messi or someone like Rodri, you can have those players play a lot of matches per season. That is because they're capable and experienced enough to know what their limitations are and how to take care of themselves. But with Lamine Yamal, you cannot do that. You just can't. It has already been proven time and time again that you can't just put these youngsters in every match just because you believe that they have all the energy in the world. It doesn't matter. They don't know their bodies. And moving forward, for the rest of the season, I want Xavi Hernandez to only use Lamine Yamal in the last 15 to 20 minutes of the game. I want to see Rafinha starting on the right wing position, as long as he is healthy, of course, because now that he is back, I just don't want to see Lamine Yamal starting over Rafinha, even though he's 100% healthy. I don't want to see that. I want to see Lamine Yamal just play 15 to 20 minutes, and that's it. He's 16 years old. Let him do this and have this type of role until he's 20 years old, because that's what's going to allow you to protect Lamine and have him understand what his body is capable of. And then from the age of 20 years old to 30 years old, now you can give him all the free time and free minutes in the world. Give him as much as you want, because you gave him that great foundation in his first 4 years in the first team between the age of 16 years old and 20 years old. And trust me, this is important. Like, I know that it kind of sucks to say that we want to see less of Lamine Yamal, even though he's very impactful, but we don't want to sacrifice his full potential just because we want to see Lamine Yamal in his first 2 or 3 years in the first team and play full time. That's a horrible trade. Us as Barcelona fans, we want to see the full potential of what Lamine Yamal could become, but you definitely will not get that if you overuse Lamine Yamal at such a young age. Like, I know, I get it, I understand, right? For him to deliver such a great talent and impactfulness at just 16 years old, it's amazing. It reminds me of how Messi at 17 years old bossed versus Juventus. That game itself, even though he only played like very little minutes at 17 years old, we're like, oh my god, like this guy's gonna be good enough when he hits 20, 21 years old. This guy's going to be amazing. And I know that Lamine Yamal is probably looking at that and just having the last laugh and saying, wow, really? Messi at 17 years old had a cute friendly against Juventus? Look at me at 16 years old playing in every match. Like, I know that's an amazing thing to say and a amazing way to think, and I'm sure Lamine Yamal probably feels so proud of himself, but still, we don't want to see Yamal get ahead of himself. Now, it's crazy to even think about that, right? Because if you really like just take a moment to think about what Messi did at 17 and what Lamine Yamal is doing currently at 16, you would assume that, okay, Lamine Yamal is going to reach Messi's level. I don't think that he is going to reach Messi's level. Now, as Barcelona fans, again, we would love to see that. We would love to see Lamine Yamal be 2 times better than Messi. Why not, right? Because he is going to be representing Barcelona for the next 20 years. But to be realistic, he is not going to be reaching Messi's level. I don't even think no one can. I don't think Mbappe, Haaland, Julian Alvarez, we can name a few players for the next 10 years. No one is going to reach Messi's level. Nobody. But again, we would love to see that from Lamine Yamal. I wish him all luck, but still, I just don't see that happening. The only thing that we should take care of is set up Lamine Yamal for success. Have him build a great foundation and set him up in the best way before he does hit 20 years old. And then at 20 years old, we can talk about, okay, let's see how he does perform and see how he actually is and calculate his potential, whether he could be as good as Messi or not. But right now, that should not even be a conversation that we should be having. Like, if you want to reach Messi's level, it takes more than talent. It takes more than hard work. It takes more than the elite mentality. You know what Lamine Yamal is gonna need in order to reach Messi's level, it's going to be longevity. That is the one thing that does separate Messi from all of the other players. Like, yes, we have seen players bring in the hard work, bring in great talent, have an elite mentality. But what's going to separate you apart is going to be the longevity. Can you do this and perform at a high level for 10 to 11 years? Lamine Yamal will not be able to do that if you injure him very early in his career. And we want Lamine Yamal to have longevity, to be well set up at 20 to perform at a high level for the next 11 to 12 years, if he truly aims to be that great. So I am pretty sure that Lamine Yamal is going to be working hard. We are going to be seeing his talents, and he'll definitely, if he does everything correctly, reach his potential at 23, 24, 25 years old. But then the next question comes in. Can he do it for more than 7 to 8 to 10 to 11 years? We'll see. But as I circle back, it's all about the foundation for now. The way that we are approaching this and the way that Barcelona and Xavi Hernandez and Deco are approaching Lamine Yamal right now, like I don't see a bright future. I just don't. I don't see Lamine Yamal reaching his potential playing at 90 minutes per game and 2 times a week. That is simply just not the way. So for now, I want to see Rafinha start. I like what I have seen against Getafe. He is a different attacker to Lamine. I know that there are some fans that prefer Lamine over Rafinha, and I understand that, but Rafinha is a different player because he runs to space. He's not somebody that likes to have the ball to his feet like Lamine Yamal. And I'm sure that's not going to be a problem because the way that I saw Koundé make those long passes against Getafe, that connection between Koundé and Rafinha can be very deadly. And so let's hope for the best. Let's take good care of Lamine Yamal and let's hope that he does reach his full potential. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.